Hello, everyone. My name is Easy, and I'm with the Northwest Conservation District here to talk to you about riparian buffers. Let's get into it. So, here's a little overview. I will first explain the basics of a riparian buffer and the different zones they can be in. Then, I will narrow it down to native buffers for Connecticut and how to implement them in your coastal areas. What is a riparian buffer? Let's break this up into two words. Riparian means relating to wetlands adjacent to rivers and streams, and a buffer is something that prevents things from coming into contact with or harming each other. In that case, chemicals are what's harming the water. When we add them together, we get riparian buffers, which is an area adjacent to a stream, lake, or wetland that contains a combination of trees, shrubs, or other perennial plants and is managed differently from the surrounding landscape, primarily to provide conservation benefits. Now, a lot of these buffered zones are natural, but many coastal homeowners and properties have removed vegetation for better sight of the stream. As we begin to realize how much harm not having a buffer does, we begin to think about how we can implement buffers ourselves for the betterment of our waterways. How can plants along waters help the water, you may ask? Well, let me tell you. They do three major things. One, reduce water runoff. Two, prevent erosion. And three, support healthy habitats. Vegetation reduces runoff by taking up water and slowing it down before it gets to the water body. So this water is coming from rain and melting snow going downhill as water flows from high to low elevation. But as it's moving, it picks up pollutants like fertilizer, pesticides, road litter, ice melt, pet waste not picked up, and plenty more things. When it eventually reaches the riparian buffers, the vegetation acts as a sponge with the extra nutrients and contaminants before they actually get into the water. This image shows us how the water is being transported. It's a cycle. The second way that riparian plants help improve our waterways is by preventing erosion. They prevent erosion by stabilizing the banks and by slowing down and filtering runoff water that carry away soil particles. The plant roots from the riparian buffers basically increase the soil's cohesiveness and make the banks stronger. Not only that, but larger vegetation can deflect waves, which also causes erosion. If you look at the image on the left, we can see a stream without any buffers. The stream side is dry, the water levels look low, and the grass around the stream is also dry. If we look at the image on the right with some healthy vegetation, we see the opposite. This is just to get you to see how big of a difference these buffers can make. And it also just looks nicer, which is always a plus if the stream is on your property. Lastly, plants support a healthy habitat by providing homes for amphibians, insects, and other forms of wildlife. Vegetation gives habitats, food, sources, shelter, and with the water being filtered, cleaner water. So let's get into how we can actually start to implement these riparian buffers. First, we need to break the whole strip down into three zones, 1, 2, and 3. Each zone has different jobs that help do what we just discussed, reduce water runoff, prevent erosion, and support healthy habitats. So zone 1 is the area closest to the water, and they have native species of unmanaged, water-tolerant trees and large shrubs. For this zone, we typically want the plants up to 15 feet from the water's edge. Zone 2 should be upland from Zone 1 and 20 to 60 feet in width. It should be planted with native, faster-growing, smaller, shade-tolerant trees or shrub species. Zone 3 is the farthest from the water and next to land use areas. This is planted with native grasses, wildflowers, or other herbaceous plants. The total recommended width for all three zones is at least 100 feet, and it's always great to implement three zones instead of just one. Here's a diagram of all three zones against a stream. We see the stream on the left, Zone 1 are unmanaged forest, Zone 2 are fruit trees and shrubs, and then Zone 3 are grasses and wildflowers, and then our land use areas are all the way on the right. So what do each of these zones do? Well, Zone 1 provides bank stabilization and shade for the stream, and organic material provides food and habitat for aquatic organisms. Zone 2 slows stormwater runoff, which prevents erosion and recharges the groundwater supply and helps nutrients and pollutants carried by stormwater runoff. Zone 3 slows and captures the sediment, nutrients, and other pollutants. So they're all working together to accomplish these before any harmful pollutants and excess nutrients get into the waterway. It's also important to note that you should always plant your buffers on a slope, as water, like we discussed before, moves from higher to lower elevation. And the steeper the slope, the wider the buffer should be. Well, let's talk about buffers specifically in Connecticut. It's always best to plant buffers with native species. Why, you may ask? Well, native plants do more efficient and effective work when it comes to conserving water, protecting soil from erosion, and creating habitat, as well as providing food for animals, especially native to Connecticut. This is because they don't come from an area with different temperatures and rain, and they come straight from Connecticut already. We should also note that fall is widely considered the best time of year to plant native trees, shrubs, grasses, vines, perennials, and anything you may want to do with buffers. Here are some examples of native plants for Connecticut that you can think about planting for each zone. This is provided by the Sea Grant Connecticut and the Center for Land Use Education and Research of Yukon. So here's some for Zone 1 are trees. Here's some for Zone 2 are shrubs. And here's some for Zone 3 are grasses. So these are just some ideas, but the list is long, and you can just search up the Center for Land Use of Education and Research of Yukon, and also just native buffers for Connecticut. So types of coastal habitats are tidal marshes, estuaries, submerged aquatic vegetation, coastal grasslands and sublands, and so many more. So you can ask yourself, do I live near or on a coastal property? And all of these are subject under the Connecticut Coastal Management Act. Any work or planting that you propose to do or do in or near a tidal wetland or watercourse, beach or dune may require a state permit. Before you plant, you should always contact Connecticut's Coastal Permit Program because you may need a permit to actually implement these buffers. Also, many wetlands along the coast are considered inland wetlands. These are under the jurisdiction of the local inland wetlands commissions, and you may need to contact your town for a permit. So you can take a screenshot of this and take a look at your home and even places near you where you can ask for a permit or ask your town to implement riparian buffers. You can also always contact us at the Northwest Conservation District, where we're conserving land and water resources for the future. There's our number, email, and address as well. Thank you.